what I'm about to show right now is essentially every single component that we go through every single ad account every time that we launch an ad. So every ad and campaign that we are launching for whatever space, real estate investing space, even realtor space, is successful. And all these components are going to give you a foundational level of understanding on how to make decisions when we start applying the strategy. The strategy is going to be another total different video, but this one is going to be walking through every single component inside of the ad account. So I think one of the biggest things that we can do is we can go either to a past ad account or an ad account that has been running, currently running, or it shows historic data. So I can explain that historic data and we can make decisions out of data and also make decisions out of what the numbers are showing us, metrics are showing us, and so on. So that's what I'm going to do. And let me just find a proper ad account to actually share. Okay, so I'm going to look for which one should I share here. I think I found one. Okay, great. We're choosing an ad account that it has historic data, and I think that historic data is fairly good. Right now it's disabled because we had a few things going on. But before I actually dive into this, I'll be focusing on how to analyze the performance of your Facebook ads. So specifically, we'll be looking at those different columns and numbers that you see in here. So you see all these columns, all these numbers when you're running a campaign, and understanding what these numbers mean and how to use them will help you make data-driven decisions and optimize your campaign. So let's jump into it. So before I really dive into the specifics, it's really important to know how to navigate through the campaign data. And that's why whenever you're in the ads manager, you got to go to performance and clicks tab. So there's a little tab here, a little button here, where it's basically, it breaks down things on the columns. Right now it is by performance only, but we want to do performance and clicks. And then that is the bare minimum to really understand things. This is where you'll find more insights and all the insights that you need to assess your campaign's performance. And you'll also want to select the specific campaigns that you want to analyze. So for instance, we have these two campaigns that historically was running this month and historically had run over $4,000 already on this specific ad account. So once you have this set up where you click on performance and clicks, which is great, we can start looking at different columns and what they represent and so on. One quick tip here is that whatever niche you're running, you can always customize this by going to customize columns in there, and you can just see different things that would be important. So for example, in this case, we're running a campaign for lead generation or conversions. So there's a few important things that we may want to just look at. So if you're running video, maybe you also want to look at how much of the video has been played. So video plays at, let's say, 75%, 50%, 25%. If you, for example, want to take a look at more specifics on unique link clicks, so the number of account centers that perform a link click, so you want to ultimately click that. But for now, let's go to performance and clicks. Let's leave that up to now. There's much more things that you can actually go and check in here. So for instance, one thing that sometimes I like to check in order to check out my media buyers is the date that this was last edited and last created, just for me to manage my media buyers and so on that are doing this for me, but this is just as a manager. So I have already clicked performance clicks and then did a little bit of a custom. You can always just leave it at performance and clicks. But let's go and let's start looking at the different components, right? Obviously, you have the on and off campaign name. This is the naming convention that you chose for that specific campaign. So we choose here the team of media buyers or the media buyer that did the ultimate change. And then we do dash the location, so the market that we choose to do. So for example, this one is Texas, so that's why we choose TX. Simple and F. So for us, this convention means it's a simple form that we are running right here, and and ultimately it uses a form as a whole. So for example, in here we have an S, and that one means that is a simple survey. So it's a survey, which is different than a form whenever we're using go high level. And CBO is the essentially what will be the budgeting type of technique that we're actually doing. In this case is it's going to be C. I'm going to explain that a little bit later better, but basically it's called campaign budget optimization. It optimizes based on the campaign. LP is landing page. That's how we ultimately do the naming convention. And LF is lead form. I'll go into SOPs and strategies, but this is the naming convention, delivery, whether it's running or not, or paused. So for example, right now there's an account error because we had gotten hacked, but it's okay. So attribution setting, you may always want to do 7-click or 1-day view, especially for lead generation and conversion campaigns. So you want to take a look at that. Obviously results, it's the amount of leads or whatever is the unit that you are optimizing to. So in this case, we are optimizing to website leads. You could be optimizing for appointments, for example, or messages in Messenger. So if you're optimizing for appointments, then this is the results they were getting. Right here, this one optimizes for on Facebook lead. So that's why it's a different type of conversion setting that shows different results. But let's start on the reach, right? So let's understand reach. Let's understand frequency. Obviously, we have cost per result, which is cost per lead, and so on. And let's understand ultimately maybe impressions, all right? Because you guys know cost per lead is the amount of cost that it takes, on the money that it takes to actually get a lead. I went through that video. That video should be seen here. The budget that you put in here daily in that specific campaign and the amount that is spent, super obvious, straightforward to understand. But let's understand reach, frequency, and impressions, and how we essentially analyze this for making decisions. So reach, imagine that you have a picture or a message that you want to show to your friends or to your audience, to your potential clients that are prospects. So reach is like the number of friends who actually see that picture or the message that you're showing on their phones or their computers. So it's a function of units, and ultimately is how many of them actually see the picture, right? Doesn't mean they interacted, it's just how many seen went through the phone. That could be also through that could also be through the lens or through the screen of your computer. Impressions, which is right here in this little column in here, as you see, is showing 41,000, and compared to reach is showing for this specific campaign showing 29,000. You'll notice that impressions is slightly higher than reach, but that's because impression are like the number of times your picture or your video or your message appears on your friends' phones or computers. So it actually counts every time it shows up, even if it is the same person that sees that thing multiple times. So imagine when you're running an ad and you're showing it to your prospects, and your prospect, even if they see it 2 times on their phone, it actually counts as impressions. So now imagine we are showing it almost 2 times, then it would be close to 60,000 of impressions. That means that they are frequently seeing that message, right? And ultimately, you may want to do decisions based on, is it effectively shown to new people? Because you may want to show it to new people. Or if you're showing it to the same people, is it can we do something with the message or with the picture or with the video that we have better in order to capture those people because we're showing it already 2 times? Or maybe we just exhausted that, call it list or that population, and we got to ad fatigue, and we can make decisions out of those things, right? So those are things that ultimately we want to really take a look at on reach, impressions, and so on. And ultimately, it also gives us frequency. As you can see, frequency is 1.38. So if you multiply frequency times 29,688 is going to equal 101. And you can do that in your calculator. The same thing for this one. If you multiply the reach on 72,377 times 1.69, you'll get this amount of impressions on your as a result, right? That's the main difference between reach and impressions. One is how many times, how many people have seen it, and the other one is how many times those people have seen it all together, right? Once we have gone to ad fatigue, we are going to see that maybe the ad has been shown to people more than 2 times. And if we reach to ad fatigue, where we get to the place of having ad fatigue, then you probably may want to also refresh your creatives or refresh your messaging or just refresh that ad itself, refresh that entire campaign itself. Just do a refresh of what you're actually doing. And getting to 2 times on frequency is kind of something that you may want to avoid. For some niches, that's okay. It still gives you results. So that's why we always are refreshing our creatives. Every single week, we have new creatives that are slightly changing. For example, sometimes we have creatives that instead of being dark red, it is bright red on the background. Or sometimes instead of just being a bold, very bold headline in the picture, it is more of a skinny headline just to see how it actually people react. Or it's a forward italics headline, and we may want to see exactly what it does in terms of that. All right. So now let's explore. Obviously, we have created cost, and we have cost in here, budget, and let's take a look at CPM, link clicks, CPC. So let's explore and that. So what does it mean? So cost per result in here, even though I already did a video on this, just to quickly go through that. Think of the cost think of the price you pay to achieve something. It's like how much money you spend to get something done. And for example, just ultimately getting a prospect to submit a form, or getting a toy from a vending machine, or someone to put their, let's say, the thing that you're selling into a cart, right? If you're measuring add to cart, or if someone puts that into a cart and then buys it, right? So that's exactly what it is. Here, I don't see quality ranking. We probably should have it. Let's see it right here. I'm not 100% sure why I don't see quality ranking. Let's take a look at quality ranking. All right, let's just go here to customize, and let's see quality ranking. It is actually quality ranking is here. I just don't see it. Give me 1 second. Oh, there you go. It's because I haven't searched it inside of the campaign. Let me give me 1 break because I gotta pee so bad. Fuck. I've been trying to hold it. What's up? I'm back. All right. When we open the campaign and we go into ad set level and we go into ad level, you'll be seeing that we can maybe identify things more in a granular level because we have now gone through internally and see every single ad that campaign has. And as you can see that the overall picture and the overall metrics, they just get a little bit smaller and smaller because we're granularly looking at it in a more granular level, right? We were talking about cost per result, which is cost per lead in this case, or cost per website lead or whatever. But now let's take a look at quality ranking right here. So this one right here is a column that it doesn't necessarily tells you a lot. However, it is definitely important to understand it, because quality ranking at the end of the day is, imagine that your ad is, let's say, a school project, work project, whatever it is, right? Quality ranking is like your boss opinion on how good your project is compared to other colleagues' projects, or how good your teacher's opinion, how good your project is compared to other students' projects, and it tells you if your ad is better or worse than similar ads, right? And that is ultimately what this is. So for example, in Facebook terms, it is an estimated ranking of your ad perceived quality, just perception, what compared to the rest of the ads that you're actually running, or ads that are similar within that same niche. And it is actually done by internal algorithms that gives you that has feedback loops, and ultimately it is giving you exactly a little bit of an estimate, right? But now this is nothing nothing too big to worry about, really. Let's take a look at engagement rate ranking. So engagement rate ranking, even though it says below average, bottom of 35% ads, whatever, still giving us results, right? But it is a ranking, and it's like a popularity contest for your ad, for instance. So it measures how interesting or engaging your ad is to people, and it tells you if people are paying attention to your ad or not. So engagement is measured by that, like how much of attention is your ad ultimately getting, right? And when you address this, then, and we see this, we have noticed that maybe it still gets you results even if it has below average. So nothing huge to really worry about. Maybe the market has a lot of competition, and maybe some people in that market could be, specifically in real estate, are running not only ad for wholesaling, but also for real estate, getting buyers and sellers, regular buyers and sellers, and so on. And maybe that's why it's getting the data from there. All right. So it's nothing huge that you should really 100% worry about, but let's just understand it. Conversion rate ranking. This is the other column. This one is, in terms of Facebook, the way that it is what it actually projects that your ad ultimately would convert on. Like, what is the projection that your ad will be actually giving you some sort of results in terms of conversion. So conversion rate ranking is like a score that tells you how well your ad convinces people to take action. And it measures how many people actually do what your ad wants them to do, signing up or buying something. And ultimately it's a measure, and it's also some sort of estimate. This is not something that you should live for. You should see it. And if it is like very, very bad, like, you may be willing to make some tweaks on your messaging, your picture, your video, and so on, in order to get it better. But in this niche, the real estate investing niche, is something that we don't need to really spend a lot of time, but definitely understand it. We already went through impressions, so that's great. We went through impressions, but let's take a look at CPM, link clicks, CPC, and so on. All right. So again, if you do this, for example, in the ad set level, you may see that, for example, it doesn't have quality ranking until you actually go into the ad level itself. And then it would actually give you a little bit of understanding of what the quality ranking and the other estimates are, right? So let's take a look at CPM. So where's CPM? Right here. All right, CPM, it's right here. Cost per 1,000 impressions, it's in bracket, and it tells you the average cost of 1,000 impressions. But it starts getting a little bit maybe confusing or hard to understand, because if impressions is the number of times that your ad was in a screen of someone, how many times it actually went through every single person that they reached to, right? Then it actually measures how much is actually costing. For example, this one is $80,000, this one is $40,000, this one is $30,000, right? This one is $32,000, and this one, the one that has spent amount of money, the most amount of money so far, has been this one and this one. So if we have this one, a lot of data for this one, $25 and 254, that one is $22. Now we have more and more data to look at those, this one right here and this one right here. Then we're going to understand that CPM is like the cost of showing your ad to 1,000 people, because we were able to show and reach actually with this ad specifically 9,000 to 300 people. This one is 14,000, and the impressions, it depends on the frequency it gets there. So that means that it took us and it costed us $22 or $25 for this specific ad, right? And this is pure math, to see how much money you spent for your ad to appear on 1,000 screens, like on phones or computers or iPads, whatever that is, right? And why it's important to actually understand it. When you understand cost per impressions, ultimately we want to know, is the cost per impression or 1,000 impressions, is it too high? And the reason why it's too high is maybe because the messaging or the picture or the video really is either not relevant at all with your audience, or your audience is ultimately not really getting attention, or maybe they're getting attention, but there maybe there's something there that is really not making them see the ad and do some sort of action with the ad. Or ultimately Facebook is not favoring you to actually show it as many people as possible, but be very effective with it. So the cheaper that you have, the cost per 1,000 impressions relatively is going to be the better for your campaign. But at the same time, it's not something that you should really be really worried about. All right. Now, yeah, we do have data of other stuff, like for example, other ads that are running at the same time that are like higher in cost per 1,000 impressions. But as you can see here, for example, this one gave us 6 leads at $70 per cost per lead. This one gave us 5 leads at $50 cost per lead. This one gave us 2 leads at $10 cost per lead. But let's see, the 1,000, cost per 1,000 impression is actually slightly higher than this one right in here. All right. So we definitely need to take a look at cost per 1,000 impressions in order to make adjustments to your ad and so on. If it is too high, you may want to refresh that ad. You may want to ultimately do things to reduce that cost. Here actually is telling you exactly how it is calculated and everything and so on, and how we're going to ultimately use it in order to make better decisions. But in here, that's something that you got to understand, that CPM is something that you want to stay healthy, not as high, is something that is the best because it actually reflects on every single metric out there. So CPM, make sure that you leave it at a healthy cost. And for real estate investing and wholesaling, you'll see that the cost for 1,000 impressions on the ad level, it ranges from $20 all the way to $100, $120. But you want to keep it in a very healthy scenario, which is kind of like in the middle or lower than the middle and so on. Okay. So that's definitely important, something that you need to understand. What's the next one? Link clicks. So link clicks. So as Facebook here says, it sounds obvious, but I'm going to tell you exactly a little bit of a case studies in here and so on. The number of clicks, taps, or swipes with the ad within the ad that let someone that is in the screen, a prospect, go to your landing page or to your forum or to whatever it is, right? That could be inside of Facebook, that could be outside of Facebook. So imagine you have the button on your ad that says click here, right? Or learn more or get offer. In this case, real estate investors, wholesalers. Link clicks count how many times people actually press that button to go to the website or forum. So if we're not getting too many link clicks and is reaching a lot of people, right? And there's a lot of impressions as well, there might be something wrong with the messaging. There might be something wrong with the offer. There might be something that is not attracting them. Maybe they're the wrong audience and we are reaching out to the wrong audience because we have the wrong messaging, because we have the wrong picture. So if you are not getting links, you're not getting link clicks, take a look at your ad copy, take a look at also how you're targeting, and ultimately what's making them stop, it's the pictures, but ultimately it's your messaging as a whole. We go to, and this one specifically is CPC, or cost per link click. Super obvious. It says the average cost for each link, but how does this play ultimately? If you have a high cost per link click, that means that it's what we were just talking about, like not too many link clicks, and there is a lot of impressions. So for example, here, $90 right in here, even though we haven't spent much money, like only $15, $90 on CPM, only one link click. Impressions are 172. It has reached 154 people, and it has a frequency of 1.12. And obviously, because we only have had one link click and it has spent, let's say the amount of money that has spent is $15.49, then the cost per link click is $15.49. Obviously, that's obvious. If it give you another second link click, then that cost you'll split in half, obviously. So now you're going from 15 to 7.5 immediately. But it's affecting this, like it's telling you, and everything is at the end of the day is very connected, but it's telling you that you're paying a lot for every single click. Why? Because there's something happening with your copy, there's something happening with your offer, there's something happening with the creative that you use. All right. Cost per link click. Think of cost per link click as the money you pay for each person who clicks on the button in your ad and goes to a website or a form, and it's counting. It's like counting how much each click cost you, right? This one, it doesn't have as much influence as we have in Google Ads, PPC, but it's definitely something you got to understand. The other one is CTR, right? So link click through rate. This one is tricky if you're not 100% technical. I'm going to read what Facebook says, but the percentage of times people saw your ad and performed a click. But what does that really mean in simple terms? So click-through rate is a popularity score for your ads button. So it tells you how many people out of 100 who saw the button actually clicked on it. It shows how interesting or tempting your button is to people, right? So the higher that the percentage is, the higher you're popular in terms of. So that means that this one that has overall, all these ads have low click CTR, link click through rate. This one is, it means that we're playing under 1% type of CTR for link. There is also CTR for all, and that means that to actually click that link, that button right in there, takes you to a website. It is only the odds of that happening is less than 1% right now, right? So now you're measuring that on the 1% level. Over 100 people, it's only 1%. The odds that happening, it's only 1%. This one is a little bit higher, so 1.71%. This one is 0.6%. This one is 0.9%. Let's see the one that has been getting some leads and so on. So I believe it's this one and this one. So those ones were getting leads. So CTR, link click-through rate, that one is a 0.53%. That one is a 0.53% in here, and it has a cost per lead on the link of about 4.17, 4.74. But if you were to compare this with other ads, we are in a healthy state. It's not too high in terms of the cost. And it actually, the click-through rate, the CTR, is not as low. If you have a very low CTR, we may be having problems on getting people to click, right, on the link. So let's take a look at all and CPC all, okay? And that one is, those ones are important because they are in all. Basically, we're looking at the entire ad itself. So remember that Facebook actually gives you the ability to pay for their real estate. whatever is happening in the screen, you pay for real estate, which means that you pay to have time at your ad or whatever your messaging is, your offer, to have some time in the screen, right? That's real estate, digital real estate that you're paying. Clicks, CTR, and CPC, okay? Obviously, clicks is the amount of clicks that happen, but it happens everywhere, not just in the link, but it happens everywhere. This counts as taps, swipes. It counts as looking at the text, opening more. This counts as clicking on the picture. This counts as ultimately clicking anywhere in the screen itself where your ad is at. And Facebook is going to basically give you that specific metric so that people are clicking anywhere at all in here. And now you're comparing this to the amount of reach, the amount of impressions, right? There you had. So if we had 97 right here clicks overall out of 9,292, and we were to do the math, so 197 clicks all divided by 9,000, because it's reached only 292. That's about 2 point compared to the reach, right? But if we were to look at compared to the impressions, which is the amount of times that it actually showed in your audience screens, so that is 197 divided by that's about 1.71%. And that is the number that we have here, 1.71%. And it helps us understand that your ad creative is getting a lot of attention. Your copy, whether that's a text or the buttons and the headlines, is showing value, or is actually very relevant for your ultimate buyers, or in this case, sellers, motivated sellers, or is very, very relevant for the people that may want to buy from you, and therefore they're clicking somewhere. And if we have this and we keep this in a very healthy margin, I would say less than 2%, sorry, over 2%, then we're looking at a good ad right here whenever we're talking wholesaling. Now, this one is 1.71%, and this one is 1.73. And if we had let it run for longer, probably would have stayed within that range, which is okay if it's also giving you results. Again, this goes by case scenario, and we have to have also a little bit of context on what we're running. But it's definitely something that you need to understand, because when we look at click-through rate in here, or just clicks as a whole, right? Think of click-through rate as, we talked about the popularity score, right? Because we did the link click. But how popular it is, then your ad right here, based on the amount of impressions. What do you need to do in order for them to click more? Do you need to enhance your offer? Perhaps. Do you need to ultimately enhance your creative so it becomes more attention driven? Perhaps. Maybe this house right here that you see gets more attention than this red We Buy Houses ad. Perhaps that's happening. In here, let's say we have another red one, it's 1.43%, but we're changing a little bit of different elements right in there. Also, this one maybe has not spent as much money, so we don't have enough data, but this goes to show that showing only houses, like actual separate houses in the REI wholesaling space, it gets you more clicks. That doesn't mean it gets you more results. So for example, in here, this specific ad right here is only a house, right? And this specific ad right here is a house with the text right in there, right? Now it gets more clicks, it has a higher CTR, it gave you more leads, but that does not mean that it's going to give you higher quality people or it's the right people. Why? Because it might attract confused buyers, confused renters, people that are not necessarily ultimately sellers, because you're just showing a picture of a house. So that's why we have integrated other creatives, even though we're going to lower a little bit of the CTR, or other metrics in here, we have integrated other creatives such as big headlines, bold headlines, or bright colors in the background, or some other stuff like the hand with the money, with house creatives, because we know that house creatives ultimately get attention, people click on it, we have a higher CTR, and so on. So if you're creating something for the real estate wholesaling space, definitely consider house creatives. So for example, this one is 1.51%. This house creatives great, but you may want to make the ad a little bit more obvious by adding a few sell your house full price or sell your house fast within 7 days, guaranteed cash or your money back, whatever that is that you want to put in your offer, because it may squeeze down the people that actually see it. So now you're going to be able to filter out for better people. Now you're going to be able to remove a little bit of a noise, right? So if people were getting attention by this ugly looking house, that's great. It gets attention. Number one thing that we want. But now we want to filter out with the right people. Let's put the white bold thing and actually have red background so that people are able to see it. And let's put any condition in here for a focus on whatever it is that we want, the value that we want to have. And obviously, this is not the only creatives that we have. Like we go through creatives in different chapter, in different episode, or in different video, but you want to ultimately take a look at the CTR, or take a CTR link in order to make decisions. Okay, what's cost per click all? Okay, so cost per click all in here is a cost, and cost per click includes all the clicks on your ad, whether it's the button, the image, or anywhere else. Could be also video. And it tells you the average amount of money you spend for each click, no matter where they are clicked on. And in here, for these house ads, is 1.45, which is cheaper than the rest of the other ones. And because we didn't spend much money, we didn't really have enough data to follow. But as you can see, this one right here, for example, was a little bit more expensive, but maybe the lead was a little bit better. We don't know. We'll have to check on metrics. We'll have to check on the CRM and see where it came from. This one, it was only $10, surprisingly, 2 leads. And the cost per lead, sorry, the cost per click was $2.69, which is more expensive than the other ones. But let this ad run for longer, we'll be able to stabilize these metrics and see further more about exactly what it is all about. Okay, let's take a look at which other metrics can we show in here. All right, so let's take a look at this tabs in here, which is the dates. So where we're going to let's take a look at this tab right here where it shows maximum right here on the dates. We're going to see interpret the ad performance, and we make decisions based on data, not on maximum, but let's say 7 days, last 14 days, last 30 days, and we also like doing last days. Look at this right in here, from here to here, last 3 complete days. And now when we're looking at the data in there, so for example, this one was stopped last 7 days. Now we're looking at the data in smaller chunks, like we're chunking up in the data. We're able to see a different type of, and we're going to be able to make decisions on a smaller time frame, because sometimes whenever we look at maximum, it gives you just a general idea, a general picture of it. So maximum time period really refers to looking at the complete history of your ads performance, and it allows you to see the data from the entire duration that has been running. But when you analyze time periods, it will help you break down the data into specific timeframes, such as the last 14 days, last 7 days, and it helps you compare recent performance and identify any changes or trends. And once you're looking at the last 3 days, last 7 days, and last 30 days, it's greater to see that way, because now we're going to see what is exactly happening, what's trending through time, and maybe something that was working today or 1 month ago is not working right now, and that's okay. It could work again once again in the future, could be weeks, months, and we can test it out. But now we're noting that, we're writing that down, putting somewhere in a comment, or we utilize ClickUp in order to write down that maybe something worked for a certain period of time, and we maybe want to be able to test it. But it also gives us the idea that, look, it may be time to refresh and just shut down that ad and just duplicate whatever it is that it actually working, and so on, right? So whenever you start monitoring these metrics, it actually involves checking regularly and observing different numbers and data related to your ad performance. And it helps you really keep track of how well your ad is doing, and if any adjustments are needed. The more you get more familiar, the more you start running more ads, the more you're going to understand exactly what to do and like how to make decisions over your ads in the time period, and so on. Okay. And ultimately, these are KPIs that you as a media buyer or your media buyers really want to understand, right? And these are important metrics, key performance indicators, and it will give you a clear data of your ad success. So they vary depending on the goals, for example, lead generation or conversion, or for example, purchases or things like that. But common KPIs include cost per lead, click-through rate, conversion rate, appointment. We have other conversion guys that we actually measure as well. That's another video, and so on. And we need to make sure that we are making changes and adjusting to strategies, because your ad campaign, based on the analysis that you do, you got to be able to make those tweaks on the performance, based on the performance of the metrics, where sometimes you got to shut down one entire ad, just the ad itself, and stop letting it run, or you may have to duplicate like the entire campaign because it's just not working anymore, with newer ads, better looking ads, and so on, because those ads are maybe not working anymore. You're just duplicating it and ultimately just adjusting based on metrics, right? Because sometimes if you're not getting leads in 3, 5, 7 days in one ad, and the metrics are also poor, you may want to shut it down by the end of the 3, 4 day, and then because you got to let it run and then make decisions as you go. Sometimes you may have to modify your targeting. Sometimes you may have to modify your creative elements and your budget. Sometimes if it is $60 a day, you maybe want to do 65 and see how that goes, or 50, and then have another ad set or another campaign that is just $10, just to make sure that you're testing different budgets and so on. So one of the key lessons that you gotta have is that you gain a lot of knowledge from analyzing your ad performance, and it helps you understand what is working, what needs to be improved in your ad strategy, right? So I really encourage you that you run some ads, we're gonna go through a strategy, and you start like analyzing every single day, but don't freak out because you're not getting results. You may are not going to get results in the first few days. You may are going to get results right away. But as you get more familiar and you start practicing, even if it is with your own ads, or even if it is with a trial client, or even if it is for the company that you're working for, you're going to be able to really make better decisions. Okay. One thing that I got to tell you is you want to really make decisions. You may want to make decisions by seeing the bigger picture and considering multiple metrics together. So sometimes, for example, there is an ad with higher cost per link click, but still good lead quality, which means that you're getting feedback from your clients. So for example, it's higher cost now, the cost per lead as well. Maybe it's $100, $120, but the lead quality is good. And we talked in another video, if you are getting great lead quality and you can close deals from that, get contracts, keep doing it. Like at the end of the day, it's testing and making sure that you're doing things for the sake of getting a result at the end in the back end, right? So see things in the bigger picture and consider multiple metrics, not only like this metrics. Oh my God, such a high cost, I gotta shut it down. No, you gotta get feedback from your client or get feedback from your team, from the conversations that you're getting, what type of leads and things like that. And you'll be able to make decisions real well. Okay. Analyzing the data over 3 days, 7 days, and 30 days is how we do it, different periods of time. And sometimes we do look at 14 days because it's like in the middle in there. But always be refreshing ad creatives, always be refreshing different targeting options. So opening up another county, just adding another county or another 15-mile radius, or the entire state, for example, if you can, or 3 more counties, right? Or instead of 50-mile radius, you do 30-mile radius, 25-mile radius, 20-mile radius. Sometimes some kind of limits on states, it does not allow you, so you do counties, right? But also optimize your ad copy. I made a training on ad copy, like I made a PDF, which I'm gonna drop it in the comments below, where you can download the PDF on training ad copy and so on. And we're gonna go through another training on specifically ad copy and creating ad copy, but be testing that. And ultimately speak with the audience in a different way for them to stay a little bit longer in there, make decisions if your video is great. We have a few scripts that will make the offer stand out and the value that you give and the benefits and pain points that you touch on them in a matter of 1 minute to 2 minutes, right? And so on. Make sure that you're analyzing the data, testing, making data-driven decisions on Facebook ad campaigns. And if you have questions, like you can reach out to me for help or so on, or ask in the comments below. There's a Facebook group that you can always ask questions. I will always answer it because I want to really answer the question in public rather than answer it just for you, just so you get it. Make sure that other people get that type of question answered, right? Thank you so much really for being part of this video, even though it took a little bit longer. I really want to go over strategy so you guys understand how the strategy works. But that's about it for how we analyze, and we're going to make a few decisions.